So Trish, I think we're all in.
Are we all in?
If you'd like to
Perfect.
start, I think we're okay.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm on my phone tonight. My computer decided to act up just as the meeting was started. So I'm calling this meeting to order at 7:05 tonight. I am Trish Bartel, Chair of Locac. Stu, could we have a roll call, please?
Sure, Lynette.
Present.
Jan, Jan is excused. Larry? Gotcha.
He's
Larry,
here.
are you okay to talk? Excuse me just a second. Larry, I think your phone cut out at some point. Can you try calling back in on your phone? Please? Thank you. Okay, Sandra?
Yep.
Deborah?
Present.
Jim? Jim's here.
Yeah.
Hi, Jim. Okay, Trish?
Present.
Okay, we're good. And Larry's going to try Sandra to come back in again on his phone so we can hear him.
As far as chairperson announcements, I have a couple. The first one, remind everyone, and we'll be talking about it a few more times tonight's meeting. May 1st, we have our big town hall at the Red Barn between 2 and 5. The elections are going to be on May 7th, which we will also be discussing. And the last thing I would like to talk about is that we chose not to hear about a project that was voted on by land use, and the project was denied due to water. And the reason why we're not hearing it tonight is that I did hear from the planning department project manager that this project for a new build or a new home on Madera Street has a hold attached to it, which means that items have not been completed, such as the biologist report, compliance issues. As soon as those have been resolved, we are very happy to review this project next month in May when the owners are further along on this project. That is all I have for chairperson announcements. Do we have any council member announcements? No. Okay, let's go to county and local agency reports. If we could start with the sheriff's report. That would be.
I unmuted him. Sure.
Thank you.
CHP's here. If no one else is here, I'll go first.
Oh,
That would be great. Thank you.
Hang on.
I unmuted the wrong person.
Is here. Sergeant Dottie is here. If we could.
Sorry. Okay.
Sorry.
I mixed you up. Hold on. Let me find Dottie. All right, here he is.
Hi there, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a camera on tonight. For the Sheriff's Office for the Coast Station, we had about 71 calls for service for Los Osos in March, 4 calls for assault and battery, 43 calls for disturbance, which can be loud music or people fighting, or really anything in between. 2 calls for burglary, which will be vehicle or residential break-ins, 14 thefts, 2 vandalisms, 5 mail thefts, 1 phone scam, 15 suspicious circumstances, and 37 enforcement stops, which would be traffic or pedestrian stops, and 29 preventative patrol activities, which will be extra patrol or vacation checks. For the last month, nothing extremely notable. We are still continuing to have catalytic converter thefts as well as mail thefts, especially in some of the rural areas. We recommend if people do, would pursue locking mailboxes, that always helps, and things along those lines. But happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the council? Okay, I can't see hands on my phone, so.
No, it doesn't look like anybody.
Thank you. Any public questions? Nope. Okay, Sergeant, do we have one?
No, but
Yeah.
just a reminder too, if you want to raise your hand, go to the reactions button at the bottom of the screen, click on that, and there should be a raised hand. Or if your camera's on, you can wave frantically and I'll look for you. Oh, Sue has a question.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm sorry, Sergeant Dottie. I don't know if I'm supposed to ask you or the CHP, but we noticed some lines on Los Osos Valley Boulevard that are supposedly marking traffic or something. I was wondering if you guys have a study or if it's CHP that I would ask about that.
That one's unfamiliar to me. That may be CHP Lieutenant Graham can have an answer to that, but I'm not familiar with those lines.
All right,
As
thank
far as
you.
the sheriff's office project.
Okay, thanks.
And there is a question from Dave and Bev. I asked to, there you go.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
We noted a bunch of graffiti on newly placed road signs and things along 3rd Street, maybe some other places down in Baywood. And I don't know if that's something that's common other places in town or not.
We've gotten, I've seen the ones on 3rd Street. I'm not aware of any other specific reports that we've gotten. What I'd recommend is if you do see them, call them in to the sheriff's office. We can either take a report or if anything, we do also have a log. We have a graffiti abatement vehicle that will come out and basically goes throughout the county from the sheriff's office, and then they can clean up the graffiti. So if you ever see it, or pass it on and call into the sheriff's office, and we'll create either a report or put it on the log.
Thank you.
Okay, doesn't look like there's any other questions.
Okay. Then let's do the highway patrol report, please.
Hello guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Jason Grimm here from the CHP office here in San Luis Obispo, and I'll start off, I think it was Sue's question, the lines. Do you know
Yes,
where the
please.
lines are on the road? I know we do the enforcement side of that only, so we don't put lines down. It would either be Caltrans or County Road, but I can look into it and I'll email you back.
Oh, thank you.
Whereabouts are they?
Well, I think we saw them sort of more pass through town, so more like Monarch Grove-ish area.
And do they cross the roadway or are they like parallel to the roadway? How would you
I'm
describe the
sorry, I
line?
couldn't tell you. My
They-
husband saw them.
No, and
assumed they
I
crossed.
and I did see them today. So they're just past Monarch before Broaderson, and they do go across all 4 lanes of traffic.
Interesting, almost like a crosswalk, or they're setting up for a crosswalk maybe?
I don't know. That's what would
Okay.
Good question.
it'd
I'll
be
look-
nice
all
to be nice
we'll-
to have another crosswalk.
Okay, we'll look into it. So near Monarch Grove. Okay,
And Deborah's raising her hand.
Yeah, I just
Hi,
wanted to
Deborah.
make a comment. I believe they're counting traffic. There are at least 3 or more places where these counters are being placed. One is actually outside of Los Osos proper on Los Osos Valley Road. It's my understanding that the county is going to do a corridor study of Los Osos Valley Road, and I suspect that this is part of their study where they're going to be counting traffic, how many cars are traveling on Los Osos Valley Road, especially here approaching Montana de Oro. I'm not saying that that's what it is, but that's my suspicion.
that sounds about right. Were the lines, since you described that, were the lines like little black hoses in the roadway?
Yes.
Yes, they
Yes.
are.
Yep, then more than likely that's what's going on. Yeah, they're probably counting cars. Yep.
Which
Okay.
is a very good thing, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure they're planning on some kind of, adjustment to the roadway because of the volume of traffic. As you guys know, it probably increases, especially in the summertime. So,
Oh, yeah.
okay, well, good. Okay, well, we just have 4 incidents to report for this month. So the first one is a DUI traffic collision, minor injury, complaint of pain only, thankfully. It was as a result of a head-on traffic collision, and it was at Pacho Valley at Rodman. And it was at, what was the time? About 6:30 in the evening on March 9th. Then we have 3 regular traffic collisions. The first one was on the 9th. It was at 5:30 p.m. 2 vehicle traffic collision, non-injury. That was at LOVR at Palisades. The other was on the 25th. It was a hit and run. So we always put unknown time because we're not sure what time it actually occurred. but it was a vehicle versus a parked vehicle. So someone came out in the morning and saw that their vehicle had been damaged overnight. No follow-up info, no suspect vehicle or anything like that, unfortunately. Minor damage, thankfully. That was at Henrietta and Don Avenue. And the final one was on the 26th. We had a minor injury, 2-vehicle traffic collision, Foothill at Johi, so a little bit ways out, but we still categorize that in your guys' beat of responsibility. So those are the 4 incidents. And I believe we had the radar trailer out there a few weeks ago. Do you guys remember seeing it somewhere near Monarch Grove? Okay,
Yes.
thanks, Trish. Okay, thank you, guys. Any other requests for that, or you want it back in the same area, or was that effective? You want to try putting it somewhere else? Same area?
That's an excellent place because that's where we're concerned about safe routes to school for Monarch Grove Elementary School. And it's really great to have, I just want to confess, I was surprised when I went by that and saw myself going faster than the 40 miles per hour
Yeah,
that
bruh.
is posted. And I thought, well, if I'm going this fast, a lot of people are going faster than me. So yes, we need it and we like it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys for the input. We'll put it back out there in the next week or so.
Thank you.
Is there any other council questions, comments? Okay, any comments from the public?
I don't see
Anyone?
any hands. I don't see anyone.
Well, Lieutenant Grimm, thank you so much for your time and all of this great information. We appreciate
Thank you, guys.
Thank
We'll see you
you.
next month. Thank you.
it. Thank you. Okay, county staff report. Corey.
Hold on, let me find him. All right.
Hello, everyone. Corey
Hello.
Harmon with County Planning. So we will be taking the Coastal Zone ADU ordinance back to the board with the Coastal Commission's suggested modifications on May 17th. One of the main things about the suggested modifications is that the Coastal Commission suggested that Los Osos would prohibit ADUs in Los Osos. So that's one of the key things that's going to go before the board on May 17th. On June 7th, the Los Osos vacation rental ordinance will be going back to the board as well with the Coastal Commission suggested modifications also. Once those 2 items are acted on by the board, they'll go back to the Coastal Commission for their certification, and they'll become effective after the certification. Your council has asked me to provide some reports, run some reports on permits and plans that are active currently. I have sent them over to Susan. I'm not sure how you would like me to present them, or is it just kind of like you want me to send it to you and then you guys can take a look at them and ask me questions as you have them. And I'm as always more than happy to answer them as they come up. But that is my report.
Thank you. And I think as far as the spreadsheet that you sent, I only received it just as the meeting was starting. So I think what would be best is if I could go ahead and send it out to all of the members after tonight's meeting. We could gather the questions at that time. Everyone could respond back to me, and then I could let you know what the questions are. And we could go ahead and answer those questions and get them back to the council.
That is perfect.
Would that
And
work
if-
for you?
Yes, that's perfect. And if you like, I can even send them earlier,
Yes.
like earlier than, the day of the meeting. I can send them on Monday, for example. That gives you some
That would,
time.
that would be wonderful, because what I would like to be able to do is always send them out to the council members at least a couple days prior to the meeting, so everyone has time to review them.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that. So moving
Okay.
forward, I'll be sending them over to Susan on Mondays before the meetings.
Perfect. That would
Thanks,
work out.
Corey.
great.
That's great. That'd be great. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Sandra?
One, I'm wondering, I haven't seen the spreadsheet, so I'm just wondering if it's easy to decipher, if it's something that do you need to explain anything on it? Is it pretty self-explanatory?
It's pretty self-explanatory. If you like, I can pull it up to just kind of give you an example to see it. If I can share screen, I wouldn't I can definitely do that.
You should
it's
be
a-
able to, Corey.
Okay.
And then my other thought was, would it be better for Corey to send that before a land use committee meeting? So the land use committee can see it as well? Like, so if every month before land use, and that way land use can review and then send it out to the council? That's just an idea. I don't know what would be most effective.
Andre, if he
but-
mails it the first week or the Monday before this meeting, then it's there a week before our land use. So it's perfect. If he mails it to
So
us or to me, we can get it out to everybody. That would be perfect timing.
Okay, so we wouldn't discuss it at that Thursday meeting. Land use, would you see it first and then it would come back? to
Yeah.
us? Got it.
So if I could just quickly kind of go over this table, it's relatively easy and straightforward. Can you see my cursor or is that not
Yes.
visible? Okay.
We can see it.
Perfect. In this first column, we have the permit number. That's, if you have a question about specific permit, this is the easiest way for us to identify an application. So we have our permit number in the first column. The permit description, this basically tells you what it is and what they're applying for. The third column, the address, the location of the property for the application. Then we have the date of the application, the current status. So intake means that we took it in, it's not processed yet. We just basically just started the process. Issued, meaning the permit has been issued already. And in review, down here, as you can see, that would mean that we are still looking over the application to make sure that it meets our code. And then if it is issued, this last column would have the issue dates. These reports are run basically by the month. So this table that I sent over is April 1st to today. So let's say if I were to send it on Monday, that would mean that it would be from, May 1st till the Monday of next meeting. So that's permits. So these are building permits, all right? And then the second table, this is a little different because this table is the plans, meaning these are applications going through for entitlements. The previous table I showed, those are building permits, that's for actual construction. These are the plans that get submitted for entitlements, and usually if it is a minor use permit for example, or a conditional use permit, these are the type of application that gets referred to Locac. So these are the applications you typically would have seen in the past or will see in the future. The first column here, that's the permit number. So as you can see, these are a little different. Most of them start with DRC, that means it's a use permit, versus if I switch back to the permit numbers, they're PMTs. So PMT is permit, construction permit, versus DRC, these are the entitlements. Then we have the project description, just like the other table, it tells you a quick little snapshot of what they're proposing. The plan work class, that means the type of application they're applying for, or it's sometimes it's an appeal, for example. So a minor use permit is typically the lower level of review versus a conditional use permit is a higher level of review. Then in the next column, we have the address for the property. And then we have the apply date, so when they submit the application, and then the status of the application. So submitted means we just took it in, hasn't started processing yet. Accepted for processing means it's ready to go before the review authority. Information hold, that means that they have submitted things, but they have not submitted everything that we would need to accept it for processing. So they vary, and so obviously this is the first time I'm sending this, and you probably will have questions as you review them, and I'll be more than happy to answer them at the next meeting, or if there's anything that I can answer before the next meeting, feel free to shoot an email to me.
Thank you, Corey. That makes perfect sense. Do we have any questions from the council to Corey?
Lynette,
Hi, Corey. I had a question for you. The Lion project that we saw and voted on at the Land Use Committee at the beginning of the month was put on information hold. I guess that's what it's called. The date on that permit was I think it was the 9th of February, and we're given 60 days to look at a permit. So is this 60 days going to be on hold or something because we're not obviously seeing that tonight? Is that what happens to it?
So typically, the referrals happen at the same time as the county staff's review of applications. So we send out the referrals to the advisory councils once we basically begin our processing of the application for review. I would have to, depending on who your project planner is, I would have to ask them as to what exactly the status is. I'm not familiar with the Lions project in detail, but usually.
Corey, this
we
is
would-
the one that I talked about in my chairperson announcements, that I
Okay.
had been working with Nicole Ellis on this project, and there were quite a few holds on it. So that's why we are waiting until next month to review it.
Got it.
I just wanted to make sure we were in our 60-day time limit, that we're not going to mess something up.
Yeah,
Is
We
Nicole-
won't because of the hold.
Okay.
Per Nicole, we're going to be fine.
Oh, good. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Corey? All right, Corey, thank you so much. And thanks for the reports. We really appreciate it.
There's one more hand that went up. I was on mute. Patrick McGivney.
Thank you. Corey, hopefully you can answer this. If not, maybe I'll ask Blake later on. But in light of the Coastal Commission letter to the county, is the county going to honor the Coastal Commission's request?
The county will be releasing a statement to address the letter from the Coastal Commission in the next week. So you should be hearing from us soon.
How would we get a copy of that letter?
That I believe we'll be posting that on our county website.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Corey? Okay. Thank you very much, Corey. And I look forward to hearing from you next month,
Thank you.
if not sooner. Supervisor Gibson is not able to join us tonight, but we do have Blake.
Okay, hold on. Let me just find him. All right.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Blake.
Good. Just making sure my mic was working. Yeah, Supervisor Gibson's unable to be here this evening, but he is looking forward to seeing some of you at the town hall on Sunday. Corey did cover one of the things Los Osos specific I wanted to talk about, which was the hearing coming up on June 7th in regards to the vacation rental ordinance. So I won't repeat that. But while he was giving his report, I was looking up because I do recall seeing something, and I think I might have an answer as to the lines on LOVR. Public Works is looking for a multimodal grant, and multimodal is kind of a shorthand for cars, bicycles, and pedestrians for LOVR. So I imagine that they're counting traffic in preparation for the submittal of that grant. The major part of my report tonight is on an item that came before the board on April 19th, specifically on homelessness. It's been almost a year since the last major item on the topic, which is the one last year that got the ball rolling on safe parking sites, such as the one at Oklahoma. At the most recent board meeting, they voted to create a homeless services division within the Department of Social Services. They're also establishing a homeless operations center at the Oklahoma location of Animal Services, which will be moving to a new facility. So that building is something I know many of you have been asking to make available for this project. And I don't see her here tonight, but I know Lindy was a big advocate for that. So the board also directed further increase for shelter facilities such as tiny homes, pallet shelters, and other affordable housing models along the spectrum to more traditional housing, and also an increase to mental health and addiction services countywide. And that topic, mental health as it relates to homelessness, was one of the big topics of discussion last week at the California State Association of Counties, or CSAC, to which Supervisor Gibson is our county's representative, and he's actually the second vice president of that organization this year. So while CSAC has many priorities, homelessness and mental health for the unhoused population was at the top of the list to engage with the governor and our state legislators for funding and for other potential resources. So that's some great news. I think with the big, I think we have like a $68 billion state surplus. So we should be seeing a good amount of funding coming down for some of those priorities. And then lastly, I do have some upcoming items before the Board of Supervisors that might be of interest to the community. The final hearing on the county charter is scheduled for May 17th to decide whether that goes before the voters in November. And the board will also soon be introducing the proposed budget for fiscal year 22-23 with hearings on that in June. So that's kind of what I came with tonight, but of course, happy to answer any questions on that or any other topics.
Any questions from the council?
What's the county charter? I don't know what that is.
The county charter. So normally, in this case, if a vacancy came upon the board or an elected position, such as has happened in the last couple of years with the death of Supervisor Hill or with the departure of Clerk Recorder Tommy Gong, there's certain rules that the state has in place on how to fill those vacancies. So in the case of a supervisor, that's currently a governor appointment. And in the case of the clerk recorder, that is a supervisorial appointment. So the county charter, as proposed, is to see, depending on how long that vacancy has left until the next election that would elect it, to put those vacancies towards public elections instead of having them appointed by the governor or another appointing body. It would go before the voters. Again, depending on how much time was left in the term.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Okay, any
Thank you.
questions from the community?
Yes, Patrick McGibney.
Thank you. Blake, in relationship to John Pouchon's position, if it did go before the public for vote, would that only be the people in his district, or would it be the whole county?
Oh, so would it be an at-large election or just the district? You know, that's a great question. I'd have to double check at the actual specific language in the charter. My common sense leads me to believe that that would probably be just that district. But I would have to double check that. I'm pretty sure it's just the district.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Blake? Okay, Blake, thank you so much for coming tonight.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. All right, CSD report. Not quite sure who is here.
I
for
saw
CSD.
Ron Munns come.
He's here. Ron
he's
Muntz
here.
is here.
Yep, let me unmute him. All right, Ron, you should be able, oh, there he is.
Actually, Board Member Troy Gatchel has the report tonight.
Okay.
Oh,
Troy, you
There
should
we
be
go.
able
I
to
tried
unmute.
raise my hand. I wasn't able to fast enough. Just give me 1 second to get situated here. All right. Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Awesome, great. So the CSD update is some critical projects that we've been working on. One of them is an update around the 8th Street Upper Aquifer Well project. This is a Program A project from the Basin Plan. This is to pump from Zone C of the groundwater basin, expected to produce about 120 acre feet of water per year. This will allow us to decrease from the 8th Street Lower Aquifer, which is the western portion of the groundwater basin. The district received about $240,000 in grant funding from the state to help offset the cost of the project. The project cost was approximately $370,000. The other project we've been working on is the 6th Street South Tank Rehabilitation Project. The 2 tanks were, constructed back in the 70s and needed repair and painting, and they are utilized for critical fire flow in the event of a fire emergency, and operational capacity for the CSD water service area. The South Tank work is almost complete, and that was about $500,000 in cost. The other tank the North Tank is scheduled for similar work next fiscal year. The program Seawell project, the construction phase bid package is out with a deadline of May 9th. The well is another critical component of our plan and project list to offset the production from the 8th Street lower aquifer well. The total project cost is estimated about $2.1 million, which includes the well drilling, site improvements, pipeline to connect the well to CSD water system. The district did receive $1.5 million grant from the state to help pay for the cost of the project. From some of our committees, the dog park is the other project we've been working on from the Parks and Rec. We've had community involvement and some public comment on that. Right now, we're in the concept planning and looking at how we do design of the park. Right now, we've gotten estimates from $82,000 to $85,000 to design the park. I think right now, from making that go forward, we need to understand the funding of the design and construction and how we would maintain ongoing operations and maintenance of the park to be able to continue that project. Other pieces that we've been working on is the 22-23 fiscal year budget. We'll be reviewing that at the May 5th board meeting. The other component that we've been doing is the solid waste services. So as April 1st of this year, the district assumed the solid waste authority back from the county. So this will bring back local control of the services, and we'll be working on a new budget as part of that process to bring that services back to the district. And that's the CSD report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the council? Any questions? from
Deborah,
the-
hold on, sorry. Deborah has a question.
I have a question. Thank you, Troy. I have a couple questions. The program Seawell, is that pipeline going to follow South Bay Boulevard?
I might be able to have Ron answer that question.
Okay, yeah,
for
maybe
the
Ron would.
details of that.
I'm unmuting him.
Ron, I think I've asked you this question before, and it has to do with that new program Seawell and how it's going to be piped. I think it's going to 10th Street? No. Where's it going?
So it'll come, the site is at South Bay Boulevard and Bay Oaks Drive.
Mhm.
So it's just to the south behind the Van Bearden commercial project. It'll cross LOVR, which will be the most tricky part because of all the utilities and other things in that intersection. It'll then jump over to Mountain View and run north down Mountain View to Napomo Avenue, where it'll intersect our line there.
All right, Mountain View, that's right. It's not going to follow South Bay. All right, I remember that. And then love the dog park, but there's no sidewalk. I'd love to see a sidewalk. It might be a lonely sidewalk, but it would be a good sidewalk.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I guess, are you talking about the sidewalk on the east side of Palisades, which would, the dog park would be north of the tennis courts?
Mhm.
That could be considered as part of the project. We just got estimates back that the project is going to cost in excess of $700,000 to build. So any additions we make to that estimate, of course, drive up the cost. We will be seeking grant funding and other contributions to help pay for that project because of the cost. But sidewalks are an option, and this is the time to request it.
Yeah, well, it's no secret that I'm pushing for a sidewalk, a pedestrian bike path on Los Osos Valley Road. And ideally, we'd like to have a pedestrian path on Palisades so you could get to the library. So Anyway, just, yeah, I understand it adds to the cost.
And I know, there's been conversations about having the sidewalk on the west side of Palisades from LOVR to the library. So I think that's still a viable option, and we just need to find the money.
Exactly, exactly. And so is it true that the CSD could represent Los Osos and apply for a grant to the county under their new program of community betterments? Would they be the entity that could represent us for this grant application?
I'm not sure. That's the first I've heard about it. We definitely could act as a lead agency, given our authorities and, ability to apply for state funding, state and federal funding. So I wouldn't rule it out. Just haven't heard about that.
Yeah, that's a $7 million community betterments grant program. And they just did a call for projects. We have until, I think it's the end of June to make application, but Locac cannot be that lead agency.
Right.
We have to find, and we're talking to the school, we're talking to Monarch Grove Elementary School, possibly being that person, but it did come up, and I probably talk about this in my active transportation report, that it's possible that a CSD could be the lead agency. And so maybe we'll talk about that some more.
Okay. Please contact me.
I will, of course. Thank you.
Any other council members who would like to talk to either Ron or Troy or ask a question? Okay, any community members who have questions for CSD?
Yeah, Tom Cross and then Patrick McGivney.
Hello, I just want to echo what Deborah was talking about, the sidewalk on Palisades. That's one of the most foot trafficked community roads in the CSD in Los Osos, and I'm just shocked by the lack of pedestrian infrastructure in that area.
And thank you very much.
And then Patrick McGivney.
Patrick?
Thank you. Either one, can you give us any kind of update on the success for the search for outside water sources?
I'll talk to that. We're continuing our conversations with the city of Morro Bay on the possibility of doing intertie with that community in terms of their indirect potable reuse project and or state water. We're considering, and we have talked with the county about the unallocated state water that is going to be put out there for use within the boundaries of the San Luis Obispo County. This is all still very tentative. The CSD is working on a preliminary plan for the pipeline to see what those costs might look like. We're hoping to maybe have those in the next couple of months. Again, we're just in the research and trying to find cost information so we can present that to the community before moving forward with any project.
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions for either Ron or Troy?
Yes, Sue.
Ron, you're talking about a preliminary pipeline report. Where would one get water in a pipeline if the state is pulling back on all of their deliveries?
Great question. And if you study the state water project, the city of Morro Bay gets 100% of their water basically right now from the state water project. There is water in the project. The San Luis Obispo County has storage in San Luis Reservoir. There is the water market where you can actually buy water on the open market. So even though you're seeing these allocations that are very low, there's water in the project. Our concept is only to take water when it's available during wet years. What we are trying to do is balance our basin. And so if we can stop or decrease pumping during wet years and allow that recharge into our basin, it's only going to act as a supplement. It's not to be our main water source. We have a good water basin. It just needs to be brought back into balance. So if we use a supplemental source to, in years that it's wet, So we can use full recharge and not pump our basin or minimize, like I said, our basin. The concept is to bring that basin back into balance. So we're not going to be reliant on outside water. We just use it as a supplemental source.
Thank you.
Great question, great response. Any other questions for Troy or Ron?
I don't
Okay.
see anybody.
Well, I want to thank both Ron and Troy for their input tonight. It was
Thank
a
you.
great report.
Thanks, Ron.
Anytime,
Chamber
Troy.
Chamber of Commerce report, Lynette.
Hi, yes, the chamber actually has something going on. It's going to be a mixer at Energy Wise Realty, Carstairs Energy Inc. It's two businesses in one place. The date will be May 4th. It will be from 5 to 6 p.m. at 2238 Bayview Heights Drive, Suite E. And it's Cinco de Mayo. So we're having chips, salsa, guacamole, cerveza, sparkling water. And it's a good opportunity to meet people. And there's actually going to be a raffle too. So this is our first big thing for this year. And we're really excited about it. And that's what we're up to.
Thank you, Lynette. Any questions for Lynette in regards to the Chamber of Commerce report from the council?
Yeah, Jim has one. Jim, you should be able to unmute.
Okay.
We can hear
I
you.
just wanted to say we're supporting Sandra's outreach thing. The chamber will be there with bells on.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the Chamber of Commerce? Okay. Thank you very much, Lynette. Great report. Now we're going to move to public comment for items not on the agenda. Anyone in the community? You have 3 minutes and there'll be no discussion on the comments.
I'm looking for hands. I don't see any hands.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go ahead to approve the minutes from the meeting on March 24th.
Move approval and thanks to the secretary.
Thanks, Jim.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Sandra, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, looks like it's unanimous. All right, thank you very much. Let's go to Locac committee reports. The first one is the treasurer report.
Okay. So we had in March, our total was $2,200.38. We earned 19 cents of interest since then. We also received a check from the Board of Supervisors in the amount of $1,190. This is to pay for our wonderful, fabulous outreach event. Many thanks to Supervisor Gibson for supporting us in this way. We have already paid $720 of our expenses on outreach. There are some outreach expenses still coming in. We have outstanding $805 currently. We still have $281 available, but we have some little items that we've been buying today in preparation of Sunday. So I suspect we'll be right on target as far as our budget goes. There is a current balance of $2,670.57. Obviously, that doesn't include the bills that I have yet to pay. We also have some cost for the election. Unfortunately, we didn't put anything in the budget for election expenses. So to date, there's been an expense of $195. I don't know, and maybe Trish could let me know if there's going to be more expenses on that, but we have plenty of money. I'm not concerned about it, but I do like to have things as a line item. So perhaps for next year, that might be something we want to add in if there is going to be an election. So I projected our balance after all the expenses that I know about to be after the expenses, obviously, $1,389.57 going into our new year. I guess you call it a year. Anyway, going into May. Was that clear? I know there was a lot in there. Any questions?
No, just a comment. I think the previous treasurer had put in the outreach budget, she considered that the elections budget, just so you know. But I do agree. I think it should be a separate line item when election years are coming up.
Is there an election next year?
No, it's every 2 years.
Okay, so we don't need to worry about it for this year's budget. All right, great. Good to know.
Okay,
that's my report.
Thank you very much. Land use, Larry.
We had a relatively short meeting. One item is on our consent agenda, vacation rental. So we'll be talking about that in a few minutes.
Okay. Traffic and circulation, Jan. Oh, that should have been changed to active. Oh.
I'll do it. I'll do it with mine.
Yes, you'll do it with yours. Tree and landscaping. I just want to let everybody know that since Yael is no longer on Locac, we are looking for a chairperson for trees and landscaping. And just to remind everybody who is on the council that you do have to be very active in a committee. So if you don't have a committee right now that you're active in, trees and landscaping is looking for a chairperson. And that's my report on trees and landscaping. So let's go to outreach with Sandra, which is going to be a big one.
Well, hopefully everyone on the call has heard about the event on Sunday happening at the Red Barn from 2 to 5 p.m. It's really going to be really exciting. I think it's the first event in many years that's going to bring over 15 service organizations and agencies together to give out information. We're going to have kids activities. David Harris actually volunteered to come out and video the event and do like a little documentary about it or video so that we can have that in the future for use. We also lined up some speakers. So the event is from 2 to 5. And in that time inside the Red Barn, we're going to have some speakers. Deborah is going to speak at 3 o'clock about active transportation and share with everybody information about that, as well as have surveys available to the community to find out your thoughts around bike paths and pedestrian paths. Also at 3:30, Dan Heimel from the Basin Management Committee is going to give a presentation about our groundwater. And at 4 o'clock, Supervisor Gibson will also give a community update. So that's going to be exciting. So just the main thing is show up, tell your friends, bring the family, pray for not a lot of wind and sunny weather.
Any questions from
I just
the
want to
council?
add on to that May 1st, this event, our town hall event, is the kickoff event for Bike Month for Bike Slow County. They're going to be there. And we're going to have Doc Bernstein ice cream for free. So if for no other reason, you should come for the ice cream.
If you fill out a survey though, right? Don't you want,
But you must
don't
fill
you
out a
want
survey.
people to
That is
fill out a
right.
survey? It's conditional.
That
Gotta
is
do
right.
something for the ice cream.
That's right.
Kids can have it and their guardians can maybe fill out the survey.
Exactly. Okay, anything else on outreach?
No, it is, this event is my parting gift to the council because May is the end of my term on the council and I didn't run for re-election. So just so everybody knows, and I'll still be involved here and there, but not as an official council member.
And we're very sad. Very sad.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
bittersweet.
You can still be on a committee.
I can be.
Thank you, Sandra. Let's go to Ad Hoc Water Committee. Deborah, do you have a report?
I do. I have a report, and I have a few slides I'm going to share. So you've all seen the letter from the Coastal Commission regarding building permits issued by the county and the effect on Los Osos water supply. I'm not going to go into that because you've all had a chance to see that. And apparently the county is in the process of preparing a response to that letter. And we all look forward to hearing and seeing what that response is. The Basin Management Committee had a meeting April 20th, which was last week. I wasn't here, but I did listen to the meeting when I got back. So I just pulled out what I felt were the important things from the meeting. The water purveyors did express concern regarding home expansions that might lead to increased water usage. They're thinking about drafting a letter to send to the county regarding the regulation of additional bedrooms, because they felt like, well, somebody could rent that bedroom and then that would create additional water usage at that home site. They did talk about the fact that the State Water Board designates the basin as severely overdrafted. That is a designation by the State Water Board. And also the Coastal Commission obviously states that there is insufficient water for the current population. So, they're struggling with these designations. They have completed, it's not complete, it's a draft of the 2021 report. So this is looking back at 2021. And I'm going to pull up some of these slides. And let's see, I need to share. I can share screen. Okay. Let's go take a look. Here we go. Here's the first one. And so this is showing the amount of water that's been taken out. And as we see 2020 and 2021, they look very similar. Certainly in terms of the amount of water that was taken out, around 2,000 acre feet. And then the next slide is this one. This one is talking about the basin yield metric. Their goal is to use only 80% of the sustainable yield. They calculated that they were using only 72%, but there's a lot of discussion about that. They have changed what they believe to be the correct sustainable yield. They reduced it from what it had been. And if you use that new number, it's 84%. And we've kind of touched on this before in previous meetings. So just to be clear, the goal is that they have a 20% buffer, and anything over 80% would be encroaching into that buffer zone. And if you use this new metric, which is a lower amount of water that would be sustainable, then we're actually encroaching into that 20% buffer. Obviously not good. The water level metric has improved. That's this next line. It says their goal is to have 8 feet above mean sea level. It's at 2.1 feet, but that's actually an improvement from what it was. So a little improvement there. Chloride metric has gone down. That's a little improvement. Nitrate metric also has gone down. There's a little improvement there. So it's a good news, bad news kind of scenario here. And then on this last slide, this is showing the total amount of water compared from spring of 2020 to spring of 2021. Spring of 2020, 124,600 acre feet. And it dropped down 100 acre feet. That's not good. So again, good news, bad news. Their plan is to continue to conserve water, to move wells away from the western edge and, you know, hopefully reduce the amount of seawater intrusion. And third, to pump water into the Broderson leach field to create a mound of water that would push against the seawater. So that is, let me just check. I'm going to stop share because those are the only slides I have to share with you. And again, I want to remind you, this is a draft report. It's not a final report. And oh yes, the Basin Management Committee is awaiting the report from the county regarding the Title 19 offsets. So we still don't really have any definitive news about what those offsets would be or should be. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Deborah? Okay. Any questions from, oops, the community? Sorry, I'm on my phone.
I
All
don't
right.
see any questions.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Can you go ahead and just jump into your Active Transportation Committee report?
I will do that. Okay. So as you all know, I have talked to you about a Safe Routes to School project at Baywood Elementary. The county had a SLOCOG funded one block of sidewalk from 9th Street to 8th Street to provide a Safe Routes to School for that school. And $220,000 was set aside for that project. $50,000 was spent on design. They were getting ready to do construction and they found a snail. So they put the project on hold, and we were notified by the Public Works that they're probably not going to hold this money for us because until the Habitat Conservation Plan is approved by the Coastal Commission, they won't be able to move forward on this project. So it was very disappointing to hear that this money might be going back to SLOCOG, where they just sort of reapportion it to someone else. Knowing that this new cycle of funding called Community Betterments is just coming on board, and the Safe Routes to School, what used to be the funding mechanism, is now closed down. I went to, on April 6th, I went to the SLOCOG board meeting at the county, and I spoke in favor of our Los Osos Valley Road project, which is a class 1 bike path, which is just like on El Morro. It's bicycles and pedestrians on this path from Palisades to Doris to create a Safe Routes to School for Monarch Grove Elementary School, and also for the community center and the library and all of the things that go on there at Palisades. And I asked SLOCOG to consider taking the money from the Baywood Elementary project and using that as matching funding for a planning grant through this new grant program. And I did get some good feedback from some of the members of some of the board members of SLOCOG. My plan is to continue to do outreach with SLOCOG and meet with individual members and plead our case. This planning grant needs a match. It has to be a one-to-one match, and we can get up to $150,000 for a planning grant. So we need $150,000. Well, guess what? We have $150,000 from the Baywood Elementary project, if they will let us use it. And that is the big question. I talked to Public Works. I talked to John Wydell. They're very intent on doing this corridor study of Los Osos Valley Road. And it's a corridor study that goes from Foothill all the way to Pecho. It's a big study. It's obviously going to take a lot of time. It's going to cost a lot of money. And I told John, we don't want to wait. We want this now. So this is my plan. This is what the committee is working on. This is our highest priority at this time. We have other projects that we'd like to present to the community, and we're going to be showcasing those at the town hall outreach event Sunday, May 1. As you know, I'm going to be doing a PowerPoint presentation at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, right? Or is it 3:30?
3 o'clock.
Okay, 3 o'clock. And so if you want to know more, please come to our table, our booth. Please take our survey, because this survey is specifically about the Los Osos Valley Road project. And if we have actual data to back up our desire for this project, it'll get a lot more attention, not just from the county, but from the state. They want to know that the community is really involved here, and that is critical to getting the right amount of attention. So please show up, please come and get ice cream, please fill out our survey. I am going to be putting the survey out on Nextdoor and any other social media that I can think of, so we can reach people in that way. And I think that's it. I think that's my report, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Deborah from the council?
But can I just suggest that survey could also out on the chamber's website? Chamber members that represent the community, they would like to see that, and it might generate a lot of interest for them.
Yeah, Deborah, every organization that's at the event on Sunday, you should just ask them if they would be willing to put that survey out through their networks.
Oh yes, that's a good idea too. Any organization that shows up on Sunday, ask them to put it out on their email list.
Yeah, and they can specify it's for Los Osos residents if it's a county organization, but and also I was gonna ask if it would be good to have it in Spanish if you want help translating that. You do have it in Spanish.
It's already
Okay,
been
perfect.
translated. Rideshare, which is a division of Slowcog, very generously looked at our survey and translated it for us.
So is it in Spanish and English, like all together? I haven't looked at it. Or last time I looked at it, it was all in English.
I think it's separate.
So we need to make sure both links then are
Gotcha.
included. Okay.
Good idea. Any other questions?
Lynette has one.
Anybody want to join my committee?
I'm already on it.
I know you are. I know you are.
Okay, I had two things I wanted to say on this. Any council member that is a member of Nextdoor, please go to what Deborah posts and write at least one sentence. That's the only way we're going to keep it above so people see it. If nobody writes anything, it sinks to the bottom and nobody sees it. And the other thing is I put stuff up on the chamber website. So if you'd like to send me the whatever.
It's a Survey Monkey.
Send me the, yeah.
The link. I'll send you the link.
If you send me the link, I can get it up on the chamber website. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
And promote the event on Nextdoor too, the outreach event.
Yes.
All y'all on Nextdoor. I'm not on Nextdoor, so.
We have a
Okay.
Facebook page.
We
No.
don't, but I've been posting it on Support Los Osos and then my own Facebook page. So, and I've tagged every organization, so hopefully they're all promoting it too.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, guys. Let's go to the consent agenda. Larry, can you speak on the first project?
Yeah, we had a application for a vacation rental permit, and it met all the requirements that the Coastal Commission has been looking at, and so we decided, or we proposed, that it go on the consent agenda. Met all the guidelines that were required.
I move approval.
Do we have a
second?
Thank you. All in favor? Okay. From what I can see very small on my phone, it looks like it's unanimous. Thank you very
Yes.
much. All right, thank you, Larry. On regular agenda items, I just want to make sure that everyone has reviewed the letter from the Coastal Commission to the County of SLO. We have also attached a link onto the agenda. Basically, the highlights of the letter are new water using developments cannot meet LCP water supply test. Applications for such developments should not be accepted. Guest houses, hotels, motels, and large structures should not be allowed. Small home renovations are fine if they can prove water data evidence. The county and the Coastal Commission have already started discussions on this letter. And as Blake said, they should be, or Corey said, they should be finishing those discussions next week. So we can hopefully hear how all of this will be resolved and how we can start processing things at that time. That's all I have to say because we don't know what's going to happen. Any comments, questions from the council?
I do.
Okay.
I was attending the LOCSD's Utilities Advisory Committee that happened yesterday, actually. And this was discussed at the end of their meeting. I see Ron Munns is still on here. And we already know the county is writing some kind of a letter back. He mentioned something about the Basin Management Committee also responding to this letter. I don't know if there's any further information than what I just said, but Ron is here. If there is, maybe he could comment.
Let me find him. Hold on. Okay.
Oh, there he is.
There I am. It's still too early. We've had the BMC party staff have had a meeting where we discussed this briefly. We're going to have a full-on discussion on it and set aside time. It's really too early to, really say anything. Basically, trying to digest all the material in there. There's been back and forth from Trevor Keith, the planning director, to the Coastal Commission and the Coastal Commission back to Trevor Keith. So it's really kind of a work in progress at this time. At our April board meeting, I did do a presentation on the impacts of guest houses on water use in the CSD water service area. And, the outcome of that, or, the results of that were kind of inconsequential in terms of the impact. But again, right now the CSD policy is that we will continue to serve letters for remodels. We definitely do not will serve letters to vacant lots, consistent with the condition 6 from the wastewater project. So this is still, I think we're going to need time from the purveyor and BMC perspective to sort this out.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments on the Coastal Commission policy?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jeff. Oh, we have one more. Jeff Edwards raised his hand. Jeff, you should be able to unmute. Okay.
Thank you. Is this the time for public comment on this item?
On the Coastal Commission letter, yes, if you do have a comment.
Yes, I do have some comments. Thank you. My name is Jeff Edwards, and unfortunately, we've seen these bully tactics before from the CCC staff. In essence, the April 19th letter is the same form letter regarding Cambria. I don't know if you've seen both of them. They're dated April 19th each. They're largely verbatim. And I say we have little in common with Cambria. The funny thing is that the Coastal Commission doesn't have jurisdiction over water. So in the letter, they've attempted to shoehorn jurisdiction in with false claims about adverse impacts to marshes, wetlands, and coastal streams. You've heard the phrase conclusive evidence, seen it in the letter about water availability. But the CC staff doesn't have any evidence of their own. There's not one number in their letter, not one. I've got a number to consider, for everyone to consider. Since 2010, when the wastewater project was approved with the coastal development permit, the purveyor's demand has been reduced over 500 acre feet. That's 1/3 fully. And this is with a constant population, by the way. The letter further goes on to discount the legal responsibility of the water purveyors in issuing will serve letters. It dismisses a successful Title 19 retrofit to build program and only makes a vague reference to Title 19 in a footnote. They consider the HCP to be in draft form. They're completely out of touch on that. And by the way, the Coastal Commission does not need to approve our habitat conservation plan. And then there's a complete mischaracterization of the wastewater project and its CDP Special Condition 6. They're attempting to rewrite the condition after the fact. At the end of the day, San Luis Obispo County is not going to deny LCP consistent and lawful projects. There's nothing to wait for here, folks. Essentially, and especially water neutral development, which we have through Title 19. Ironically, the letter you've referenced that they're going to continue to allow renovations, additions. And by the way, none of this happens with retrofits. It just happens. It's truly unfortunate. The truly unfortunate part of this whole thing is that we have locals, including many folks on Locac, that have basically colluded with CCC staff to advance a false narrative regarding water in Los Osos and essentially weaponized the Coastal Commission, or are attempting to weaponize the Coastal Commission.
Let's remember that we do have a code of conduct, so let's
Yeah,
not.
well, and Madam Chair.
It's also been 3 minutes
The
and a
truth
half.
hurts,
Yeah.
I know. I have one final thought. Locac, unfortunately, has become a self-serving, opaque
Okay, I think you
organization
muted
doing
at this
a
time, please.
disservice to this community.
Thank you. Goodbye. Okay, moving on.
We have we have another hand raised,
Okay,
2 hand raised. We have Patrick McGivney and then Tom Cross.
Thank you very much. Yes, your last speaker was incorrect on many points, which I won't get into all of them, but we have a lot in common with Cambria, and that is our overdrafted water basin. And secondly, the Coastal Commission does have absolute jurisdiction over our water because our water is considered a coastal resource. And according to the Act of 1976, the Coastal Act, they are responsible for maintaining our coastal resource, which includes our water basin. So I'd like to just make those very clear. And yes, we have dropped down our extraction rates, but we are still in overdraft. So we still have not cut down as much as we should. Thank you.
thank you, Patrick. The next speaker, please.
Tom Cross.
Hello, just a brief response to what Jeff Edwards said about his displeasure with Locac. The good news is are elections coming up, and you can vote for people you would prefer to see on the Locac. And I wish Jeff Edwards would have ran himself if he was so displeased with Locac. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. All right, any other questions on the Coastal Commission letter? I mean, we don't know what they're going to do. This is really up to the county and the Coastal Commission, and then we'll hear. Let's move on to business items. The first one is the website. and this is for the council for discussion. The website definitely needs some help, and we would like to go out to bid and find someone who can help us rebuild our website so that it is easier for us to place items on, minutes, all of that. So what I'm asking the council for is permission to get a small group together to look at the website and to come up with a new model on how we can move forward with our website. Can I open that up for discussion?
Yeah, I think, yes, that's absolutely necessary. I had mentioned that I had someone who could do it for a reasonable price, but they are too busy right now. So that option is out. They charge $500 to revamp websites, which I think is a really great price, especially for organizations like ours. But yeah, I think it's something we could reach out to colleagues and acquaintances and put it out there, and also dedicate some funds to make it happen, because I think it's a way we're mandated, right? We got to post things, we got to alert the public, and there's a possibility that Lynette might not be able to do it for us anymore, but she's willing to train people. So
Well, let me just say, if it's a WordPress site, yes. If it's a Dreamweaver site, yes. If it isn't, I really couldn't tell. Those are the things I know.
Okay.
So I sent the sheet around with the yearly Locac website costs and work requirements. So hopefully everybody got a copy of that and can see, because if you're going to ask someone to rebuild a site, you need certainly what the work schedule is, what, you know, what is required to be on there. And also, if it's going to be maintained by somebody you pay, there may be, you know, so far we have had it since maybe, you know, I'm trying to think. We've had this up for some time. It's been in various states. Larry would know, he did it before me. There was another guy who did it before Larry. And so it's always been volunteer. We have never had to pay anybody to do it. So we would also need to find out what it costs to maintain a website, because it's easy enough to get one built, but then if there's nobody to maintain it on the schedule that we need, you know, if this all happens and I'm reelected, then I will be happy to take it over. But if I'm not, then I'm gone. So
Blake has his hand raised. Maybe he's here to save the day. Let's see, Blake.
All right. Well, I don't know about save the day, but your sister advisory councils, at least the ones that I know of in Cayucas, and also the North Coast Advisory Council for Cambria and San Simeon, have both recently redone their websites. And I don't know who specifically they went to. I think it was a local community member who did it, either pro bono or probably for a relatively inexpensive, probably 500 or so, like what Sandra was saying. And my understanding, even though I don't run them, is that the council members themselves got a brief training and have been ongoing upkeep of the website to keep the costs down. So when you get that far, I would recommend reaching out to one of their advisory councils so you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Thank you. That's great information. Great information.
And Deborah has her hand raised.
So it's my understanding that there's a desire to have a website so that each committee chair could post their own stuff on the website instead of sending it through Lynette or somebody like Lynette. Is that correct?
No,
that has been figured out yet. I think that's why I want to put a small group together so that we can discuss how it should work. Right now, it's been wonderful because Lynette just steps up and does it miraculously. Don't even know how she does it. But you know, if that option is not there in the future, and I know there's stuff on the website that we all would like changed, and it's not easy at all to change anything on the current website. So I think regardless of who we have, we need to at least revamp our website, make it a little more modern and cleaner so that our new district map is on there, just so that we can redo it. And I'm not sure, I think going forward, we probably need to have more than one person who can post things. It's not fair to Lynette. I feel like we always take advantage of her and she's so gracious about it, but we probably need at least two people, the chair and one other person who can post things.
Well, it's generally, it's the communications officer, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I agree, there should at least be two people that know how to do it. And having just built my own website, like you can use Squarespace. I didn't build it, I had someone else do it, but Squarespace or Wix, which are known to be really user-friendly so that people like us can just go in there and add a document or change the text a little bit, but the whole website isn't being changed. So I think that would be the wisest way to do it, right? Rebuild it in a platform that's more user-friendly, that doesn't need coding, and then train one or two people, because you also don't want too many people in there accidentally messing things up, right? To make those updates.
Good thoughts, Sandra. Any other thoughts? Do we have permission to get a
I
group
will
together?
just say we definitely want to make sure we have security. And that means backing up the website before you update anything. So there's a lot of things that are kind of behind the scenes. And I forgot David Harris was in the middle in between there too, doing it for free. So it's really important because we remember that horrible time we had when the website got infected.
Yep.
So we want to make sure that our virus software, whatever we're using, is up to date. And I guess that is the main thing. I'd want to make sure that we don't wind up with infected things, because I haven't even really put everything back on the website because I have to upload a brand new copy of all the things that were infected. I can't use the stuff that's in the background in there anymore.
Yeah. Can I ask the council to vote to see if we can set up a small committee to research this?
Sure.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if I'm elected, I would like to be on the committee if I am not.
Okay, I'm taking that. Do we have anyone who is against it?
Do you have to be on the advisory council to be on the committee? I mean, it kind of makes sense for Lynette to be on the committee, is my point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could call it like a
Get
task force or
reelected,
a.
Is
Yeah,
there
we
a
could-
reason that she couldn't be on the committee?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just asking permission tonight that we could gather some people together so we could talk about it. That's what I'm asking tonight.
Do you need a
is-
motion or do you need some volunteers for a committee?
Oh, I'll be calling people. I'll be calling. And you may or may not say yes, but I will be calling people.
I think it's a good idea to maybe reach out to the community and ask if there's anybody who's really, this is one of their fortes, and if they would help, if anybody knows anybody. I think that's a great idea to have a committee based on, Locac and community people.
Okay. All right. So I'm taking that it's okay for me to move forward to develop a task force to look at our website and move it forward.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done with website. All right.
I just, sorry, one more thing. That's going to include the newsletter that I do. So unless y'all want to pay me to keep doing the newsletter.
After the last, Sandra.
You got me for one more month and then
Oh, I'm sorry,
Mail
you're not allowed to leave. Include the newsletter.
We may
Okay,
need a bigger budget. We might have to pay you to do it.
yeah,
I do it. I'll do it for cheap.
okay, good. You got a deal. All right. I want to talk about and Sandra, I need your input on this too, because I've been reaching out to you. So for the elections, the elections are on the 7th. Those running are running for the positions currently being held by Jan and Lynette. The other two positions are for Yael, which has 1 year left, and James, which has 3 years left. And those positions are normally appointed due to the length of the time that they've served. But after reviewing the bylaws, this is where it gets all tricky. So hold on here. Reviewing the bylaws, it does say that if a seat becomes vacant within 4 months of an election, it can go to election. The bylaws aren't really that specific. It's another thing that I've added to the bylaw revisions we need to make. And I really want to talk to the council on how we should move forward on Yael's and James' position. Because at last month's meeting, the council asked the nominating committee to appoint someone for these positions. The nominating committee found a very qualified candidate for District 1, but no one for District 2. So it looks like we have 4 positions open for the nominating committee to review after the election. And we could just have a pool of candidates for Districts 1 and 2. I'm not really sure how should
Well,
we.
I think do you want me to interject here? Give my thoughts.
Yes, please.
I think the confusion comes in the fact that the bylaws don't specifically state if a candidate, if a council member leaves the council within an election period, then whoever's running for the election should just take their place. And because that seems like the most commonsensical thing, but it's not specifically stated.
No.
So that's the confusing part that we're in. And maybe as a council right now, we can just vote on how to move forward, because we do have, so I see as 2 options. There are candidates in District 1 that could, the second place winner of the election could possibly become that, fill that position, fill the vacancy. That's option 1. Option 2 is to appoint them because because they left within this period where we couldn't then say we need another vacancy because the election is in time.
Yeah. And I agree, we have those 2 options. We either appoint or we take the second candidate, or the candidate who comes in second place, and ask them if they would like to take a short, because it's going to be a shortened term, if they would be willing to take a shortened term.
Yeah, because for AL it'll only be one year, and the other will
James would be
3 years. So that would be, I think, what we would ask each council member. What are your thoughts about those options? And Sue, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as a member of the committee that was rewriting the bylaws, I completely misunderstood what you guys are talking about in regards to the 4 months. For some reason, it was my intent when I was working on this, that if someone quit before the 4 months were up, then there was enough time to, right, if someone quit 4 months before the election, that's kind of when we started the whole election process. So if it happened before that, then everybody could know there was an extra position and people could run accordingly. So I was under the impression that if you quit within that 4 months, then your position had to be an appointment. So I think that there was some misunderstanding or whatever. So I think that perhaps I would like to suggest that maybe we go with everyone gets into a pool, people who are seeking to be appointed, and then people who perhaps run it and don't win, they could be all into this pool. And then the election committee that's been determined to be the nominating committee could go through these people and and find some good candidates from the pool. So in other words, that everybody gets a chance. If somebody had known before the elections were closed 4 months before the election, 5 months before the election, how much ever time we had, I don't remember. Then everyone would have had an opportunity to decide if they wanted to run, because now there were 2 positions to open. And, you know, it's always a difficult thing to decide if you want to run or not. So
If I'm
think-
understanding you correctly, Sue, what you're saying, if there's 5 people, 2 that are already running and part of the elections and 2 that are interested in being council members but didn't run in the election, should be put into a pool of potential candidates, which will then be reviewed by the election nominating committee and then brought back to the council for the council to vote on who
And-
should
and
be
then
elected. Is
perhaps-
that, am I
yeah, and
understanding
then-
you
I'm
correctly?
sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that that's what I'm understanding or hearing.
Well, that's one
Okay.
possibility that I see. Yes, that they would go through the candidates and then perhaps they could recommend 1 or 2. You know, you don't have to recommend all 5 because that gets a little out of hand for us. But if they could recommend to put forward a name or 2 to the council, then if they wanted to vote to renew, or I think that would solve the questionable issue of the language and what the intent was, because I know it was certainly not, my intent was different than apparently now suddenly the bylaws are being interpreted. So I just, yeah, that's
Okay.
fine, I guess.
Deborah has her hand raised.
Yeah. So I think actually I saw this in the policies and procedures, and it was very clear to me that if there is an opening, somebody leaves the council within 4 months of an election, then that spot would be decided by the election. That's very clean. Trying to bring in people who would be nominated makes me wonder, why didn't that person who is going to be nominated run for the election if they were interested? So that's my first question. And so you have people in District 1 and District 2 who have gone to the trouble of running for election. They're out there getting votes. And so their interest is proven. They have passed the requirement that is necessary for being on the council. And so I don't know why we would even consider anybody who isn't already running. Now, if you were to take that approach and say, well, we're just going to bring in some extra people for whatever reason, and then we're going to evaluate them, what is your process of evaluation? People are elected to the council by the community, not by the council. So I would have to say, what's your process? Is it transparent? How are you making this decision? And so, you know, a lot of times I hear from the community that Locac is not transparent. And so I would really, really, really have to say, if you're going to go down that path, it absolutely has to be transparent. How are you making this decision?
Do we have
Okay.
any other comments?
Yeah, let's hear from others and then we'll circle back. I know, Sue, we want to speak, but let's hear from others as well. Jim, Larry, Lynette, you all need to chime in here. You're part of the council.
Well, I feel like since I'm running, I shouldn't chime in because
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind
Well,
of
I know,
That's right.
wanting to be on the council.
I think you still should, Lynette. I mean, you've been part of Locac for a long time. I'd like to hear your opinion.
Well, I have to agree with Deborah in that for 1 and 2, where there were people running, that only makes sense to use people that have already gone out. They're already in the neighborhoods getting votes. They filled out all the paperwork. They're on the website. So for 1 and 2, it seems to me kind of a no-brainer.
Okay.
But 3 and 4, we really didn't get anybody at all to
Yeah,
run.
and we'll talk about that one next.
Okay.
And Jim, can we hear from you?
I asked you to unmute, Jim. You should be able to unmute. There you go.
I did 10 or so times to unmute and you wouldn't let me be unmuted. I'm just a spectator, I guess. Anyway, I agree that the 4-month period that Susan was talking about is exactly the way she described it. That person should run for office. After the 4 months we get to the election time, there's no way for somebody to be appointed when somebody resigns 1 month before election. In that case, seems to me somebody could be until the next election by the board. And we talk about criteria, it's the same criteria as to do with any candidate. So forward.
Jim, you're cutting out, so I don't think we caught everything you're saying. Are you saying that basically of the two options, is it just picking the second place winner for the seat or putting all the candidates into a pool to then be brought to the council?
I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm talking about replacing somebody who resigns. Somebody resigns before 4 months, they have to run for election, filled by an elected position. If they resign within, say, 1 or 2 months, be appointed by the council until the next election. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so appointed.
Appointed.
Okay. I want to chime in though on,
Larry?
sorry, Jim. I want to chime in on the election thing though. Sometimes the community doesn't want somebody on the committee, and so they vote for somebody else. And then to give that second place winner that the community as a whole decided didn't want, to automatically give them a seat on the committee, I question it. I vote for people sometimes because of their qualifications. I also vote for them because I think the other person's an idiot.
Mhm.
And I don't want that idiot on the board. And so if it's going to be an election, be open and fair, the one who won the election is on. The second seat you're going to fill should not be the second place person that the community decided they didn't want. There's something there, that has to happen to deal with this in election time. The second place, the community decided they want this person. That's fine. They're elected. They're put on the committee. The second place person, maybe should be, they didn't win, and maybe the committee, not the committee, but Locac should decide who's going to fill that second place. Not automatically default to the person who got the second highest vote.
Mhm.
Okay,
Is that making sense?
yes.
It does.
I agree with Larry.
Okay, and Sue and Deborah both have their hand raised. Sue?
Thanks. I'd like to say that I guess there should be a third option, then that we just do this if somebody has resigned within the few months before the election, that they should be only appointed. And I just like to point out that of the 5 candidates that are running, that you're talking about putting them on Locac, I would say 3 of them probably have never been to a meeting. I don't know that for sure, but I know that we consistently have 2. We have Tom Cross and we have Patrick McGivney. But other than that, I don't even know these people. So I think that just putting somebody on because they lost an election, but they ran, is no reason to just automatically put somebody on a council.
And Deborah?
Well, so I'm going to go back to my original point, which is if you choose somebody that you nominate who did not run for election, then how do we know that the community would have voted for them? Larry, taking your point, well, they didn't vote for the second place person, so why would we choose them? Well, unless they got 0 votes, there were people who voted for them and supported them. How do we know that there's support for this person that you're nominating? And again, what is your process for making the decision? Will you be taking the people who lost the election and the people that you are picking out of, I don't even know how you're deciding, people who are showing up to meetings and saying, okay, now we're going to choose among these people? What is your process? What is the logical way that you're going to make your
Deborah, I think the process that Sue was bringing up is that, let's say for District 1, we have 2 Patricks and we have Lynette, okay? Let's just, say that one of the Patricks won, okay? And he came in with 10 votes and the Patrick and Lynette both came in with 9 votes. So then I would see that Patrick and Lynette would definitely be vying in this appointed pool for the EIL. And if there is one other committee member from another committee who has asked to come in and wasn't available to run, then that person could also be added. And then there would be 3 people in the appointed pool for District 1. And Patrick, Lynette, and whoever this other person is would be in the pool. And it would be chosen by Locac which of these 3 would become the Yael position for 1 year.
This is what bothers me. We need diversity on this council.
Yeah.
We need to have more voices that are bringing in other positions. And if we're only choosing the people that we know, then we're not necessarily going to get that diversity. And so if you want to do that, I would say put them all in a hat and draw one of them out. And let's just do it by chance, and not because we're going to, vote on the person that we think is going to fit the council the best, because I think that runs dangerously into, we just keep getting the same people. And I just want to say that I was an unknown person. I never came to Locac meetings until I started running for election, and I started coming to Locac meetings. And I feel I brought a lot of energy to the council, and I brought a lot of projects to the council that would have never arrived if I hadn't come here. But I was completely unknown by every single one of you people as a Locac person. So I want to be more open about the people who come in. Now, maybe they're not going to be a good fit, but in the case of Yael, we're only looking at a 1-year term, right? So, I mean, I'm going to give these people the benefit of the doubt that they are, that they have the ability and the desire to be on the council, and they'll bring something to the council. And we shouldn't prejudge them that, oh, they're maybe not going to be very good. They might be quite excellent. So I really just feel that if you go through the trouble of being elected, then you should be considered.
Okay. All right.
And I'd just like to finish that off with, if a person's elected, they should definitely be there. If we're filling a vacancy, that should be up to the council. Should not be second best on the election thing. Our policies and procedures stated, if there's a vacancy, somebody quits their place on the council, then it is filled by,
An appointment. That's what
an appointment. You want to make it a little bit different. Bruce Gibson appointed some members. You know, take it out of the committee here, take it out of your friendship zone, and have, you know, a third person do it, but not the second highest votes. I'm sorry. Not for a short term, not for a short term thing.
I have to say, Larry, I read it very differently. In the policies and procedures, it says that if someone leaves the council, they are to be replaced by someone who's appointed unless it's within 4 months of an election. And in that case, it goes to the election. To me, it's very clear that when you're that close to the election, then it goes to the people who are running for a position on the council. And I really think we should pull up that section of the policies.
I have it right here. So it's in the bylaws, not in the policies and procedures.
Thank you.
So section 11, in the event of a vacancy caused by the loss of an elected member of the council, or if there are no electoral candidates for a given geographical voting district, a nominating committee shall be appointed by the chairperson to confirm the eligibility of potential replacements. Potential replacements will have signed the conditions and service and the standards of code of conduct, as well as submitted all their paperwork. The proposed replacement shall become a member of the council upon majority vote of the council and shall serve the remaining term of the vacated seat. Should the vacancy occur 4 months or less before a regular election, the vacancy will remain until the election.
Which means that we
Should
don't split until the election. I'm sorry.
So
not going to nominate somebody. It's going to go to, I mean, that's how I read it. That's just how I see it.
Should the vacancy,
and I see it that the board will not choose a member, or whoever chooses the member doesn't do it while there is an election. So when the election is, there's a whole new board. That board will choose who fills the vacancy.
But the whole purpose of the election
not second highest vote.
Yeah, but the whole purpose of the election is to choose who will sit on the council.
So there was a lot of assumptions going on here. So the last sentence, should the vacancy occur 4 months or less before a regular election, the vacancy will remain until the election. The assumption there was that people would run and in time and they would be voted on. What's not said there is what's happened in this situation, that people left the council before, like within 1 month of the election happening, as well as what's not stated there is whether or not, if there's 2 vacancies, if it's the first and second place. Right. So those are the issues that we need to re-clarify and state in our bylaws moving forward. I don't think we can make decisions based on intent and intention and perception, because that is very different from different people. So I think the important way to move forward is how can we be the most transparent and the most fair, knowing that there's some issues that just we don't want to leave it up to interpretation. So how can we be the most transparent and the most fair, taking our own personal opinions out of the equation, but moving forward? And that's where I think it would be important to hear if community members have any thoughts, because in the end, we want to be faithful to the community. So I would ask if there's would that be okay to ask community members if they have any ideas or thoughts about this? Trish?
Yes, that's a great idea.
Okay, so Dave and Bev.
Have a discussion on an issue that needs to be decided tonight.
I know, Jim, it's late, but it needs to be decided.
I'm asking the question.
Yes, it does.
Issue we must decide tonight.
Because our next meeting is after the elections. And if we're going to be fair on how we do the elections, we need to be able to do that tonight.
You're trying to anticipate what some outcomes of the election will be.
Well, for the election, we only have one place. So for District 1, whoever comes in first is going to be taking the position that Lynette currently has.
It
Yael,
might be Lynette.
and it might be Lynette.
Yeah.
But we have Yael's position that is for 1 year still open.
Nobody's applied.
Well, yes,
Right.
we have had someone apply through the nominating committee, someone from land use, but that's why I'm asking is we have had someone who has applied, but we also have 2 other people who are running for District 1. Can we put all 3 of those into a nominating pool, or what do we do?
To
So,
fill Yale's
because the bylaw-
position, is that what we're saying? To fill Yale's position,
Yeah,
we only
we're
have,
talking about Yael's position.
Trish,
only
there's,
have-
I'm sorry, there's, the bylaws are, this is how I remember now the intent, and it doesn't say anything about if there's a vacancy, the loser of the election will be put
No,
in.
it
It
does
just
not
says that the vacancy will remain until the election, and I think what went through our minds was that, and then at that time, the new council will be there, they will appoint per the bylaws, and with the council approval, they will, the chair will appoint the substitute to fill the rest of the
Well, if
of the, and then if it happened before, then you could put that position up for election to give everybody a chance to know there were 2 seats, and so more people could apply. It goes beyond reason to say that somebody should have known that 1 month before an election. Okay, I'm digressing. No, it doesn't say anywhere here that the losers would take the spot. I mean, you keep the spot open, because if there's only 4 months, we've already gone through the election process and we've closed the election. So now if there's 2 applications, if there's 2 openings, nobody can sign up to do both of them.
So I have
Okay.
the thought from you guys talking about the bylaws. Wouldn't it make sense then to not appoint or not elect Yael or James' position until after the election is over, and then we do all 4, we do 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4 after the election is over?
And
the
appoint them all.
results are, then we can act.
And all?
Yeah.
yeah, so I agree with that. I think that you don't make any moves until
Nope.
after the election. We find out who wins. And then all the people, including those who ran for election, who still want to sit on the council, can apply to be nominated. And then you will be fair.
Those who apply. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah,
that,
I'll agree with that.
that's a very clean way. And then,
All right.
then you have your process back in
Okay.
proper order, I think.
And I'm sorry this took so long, but I wanted everyone to talk about it and all of us be on the same page. So we're going to wait for after the election. And then we're going to,
If you'd like to call a special meeting,
Invite.
Madam Chair, to deal with this issue after the election,
okay.
be open to that.
And I think it should then be open to invite anybody who would
Right.
like to be
Everyone.
part
Right.
on the committee. I thought that's what we were always
A
talking about is the
process.
pool, but,
Yep.
and then be very clear about the process, right? And it's very clear in
Right.
the policies and procedures. The only requirements are that you're a resident and you live in the district.
And you're
And
18.
that you're 18 and that you sign our paperwork. Those
Yep.
are the only requirements.
Right.
And then from that, it can come back to the council.
Right.
Okay.
And then Dave and Bev have had their hand raised for a while.
Yeah, this is Dave Bolus. From what Sandra read, I don't think there's any question that the meaning of the rules is that a lame duck council shouldn't be picking who's going to be in the new council to fill those spots. In other words, wait until after the election, as was mentioned before, find out who's on the new council, and then the new council will make the decision. That's the way I read it.
Yep.
Where we are.
Doesn't say anything about electing the people that would fill in those slots because it's within 4 months of an election. So that's all.
Thank you. I agree. Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
I think we're fine, because that's how we have to do districts 3 and 4 anyway. So on that note, unless there's any comments, questions, concerns from the council, we are adjourned.
Oh, Deborah has raising her hand.
So are you going to be asking for nomination applications at the outreach event? Or is that not going to happen?
That's before the election.
Yeah, I think we have to wait till after the election.
Okay, I just want to be clear about that because we
After, yeah, after the,
I mean, we can say there's vacancies going to be open if you're interested.
we can talk about it, but
Yeah.
we're not going to
but
take.
not, yes,
Recruiting necessarily.
we're not recruiting.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, adjourned? Agreed?
Adjourned.
Adjourned, 9 o'clock on the dot.
Right on. Good night, all.
Good night.
Night,
Good night,
thank
all.
you.
Thanks, everybody.